Hello, and welcome to the Narrowing Path, Walking the Spiritual Walk. My name is Steve Van Anderson. Thank y'all for joining me again this evening as we do October 8th reading from James Allen's Daily Meditations. Yesterday's was great. I loved that. It said, man is a mind builder. Kind of reminded me of the Doom quote that fear is a mind killer. And I believe them both to be true, actually, both of those statements. So I loved that, though. Man is a mind builder. And I'm looking forward to what today's follows up with. It's been just a great October so far with these readings. So this will, of course, be fresh to you and fresh to me, meaning you'll get my genuine response, reactions, observations, and what I relate to about the reading, because this will be the first time that I read it or hear it right here on this podcast with y'all. So let's get right down to it. This is October 8th reading of James Allen's Daily Meditations. Build like a true workman. If a man is to build up a successful, strong, and exemplary life, a life that will stoutly resist the fiercest storms of adversity and temptation, it must be framed on a few simple, undeviating moral principles. 4 of these principles are justice, rectitude, serenity, and kindness. These 4 ethical truths are to be the making of a life. These 4 ethical truths are to be to the making of a life what the 4 lines of a square are to the building of a house. If a man ignores them and thinks to obtain success and happiness by injustice, trickery, and selfishness, he is in the position of a builder who imagines he can build a strong and durable habitation while ignoring the relative arrangement of mathematical lines, and he will, in the end, obtain only disappointment and failure. Work in harmony with the fundamental laws of the universe. Now this is cool. These are fun ones. I love when he gets comes outright with principles, and instructions and things like that. I'm just gonna go ahead and look something up real quick. I wanted to just find out rectitude definition: morally correct behavior or thinking, righteousness. Wow, what a great word. I mean, rectify is to correct, I guess. Probably on a moral basis, if that's if rectitude is similar. So, all right, well, let's go through this one by one. I love he's continuing with the builder type theme, and that's always great. I relate to that. So, build like a true workman, meaning someone that knows what they're doing, someone that's practiced at it, someone that's skilled laborer on this stuff. Build like a true workman. If a man is to build up a successful, strong, and exemplary life, a life that will stoutly resist the fiercest storms of adversity and temptation, it must be framed on a few simple, undeviating moral principles. I like that, right? Because I mean, that's the summation of my entire message most of the time. It's or at least this is a good portion of it, right? As a man thinketh, is like what your thoughts create your actions, your intentions create your thoughts, things like that. That's one part of this. But the grounding and the living, I talk about this all the time. We're grounded in moral principle. We're grounded in spiritual principle, spiritual virtue, right? Excuse me. So he just plainly stated this again, right? That's what we're talking about. If a man is to build a successful, strong, and exemplary life, which is what every man wants to do, every individual wants to do, a successful, strong, and exemplary life, stand out, utmost quality, a life that will stoutly resist the fiercest storms of adversity. So when things get rough, because life happens, and temptation, that's adversity is when outside life happens. Temptations when we happen, when we show up, when our weaknesses show up, when our ignorance and imperfections and our um, human nature shines on through, I guess, maybe. It must be framed on a few simple, undeviating moral principles. Like how he says framing, like framing up a house, right? Same thing what we're talking about. So we're talking about moral principles, what we need to be grounded in. Four of these principles are justice. We talk about a lot of justice in this right now, or at least recently. I feel like in the last month and a half, justice has been brought up a lot. The law of justice and how this works, and true justice and ultimate justice, things of that nature. Just so justice, rectitude. Let me read the definition of that again. Morally correct behavior or thinking, righteousness. So, moral thinking, which is the other, like the honesty, the courage, the hope, the love, the integrity, the willingness, the humility, things like that. Sincerity. So truthful, honest, sincere, good intentioned, and kindness. That's such a good one to have in there. Kindness. Because these ones, justice, rectitude, and sincerity, they can, without kindness to temper them, I feel as though they are. It can be pretty, like you can be brutally honest with people, right? You can be unjustly punishing, right? You can actually harm people if the kindness is not brought in. And I think that's an important thing to remember. Kindness and tact are important consideration for others. Justice, rectitude, sincerity, and kindness. These four ethical truths are to the making of a life what the four lines of a square are to the building of a house. I like this. I like these types of metaphors, these comparisons. Just the importance of of square and the solid nature of it, right? If a man ignores and thinks to obtain success and happiness by injustice, trickery, and selfishness, he is in the position of a builder who imagines he can build a strong and durable habitation while ignoring the relative arrangement of the mathematical lines, and he will, in the end, obtain only disappointment and failure. So, if you think you can have a happy and successful life by not practicing justice, rectitude, sincerity, and kindness, in other words, living a life serving yourself only at the expense of others and everything else around you, you're like a builder that doesn't understand structure. You're like a builder that doesn't understand mathematical principles, and you will fail magnificently. It will all just come tumbling down on your head, and you'll feel like the victim of the world when it's your own character that built the house you're in. It's a powerful thing to consider. And the picture he paints, I believe is true because that life we're building, what are we building it on? Are we stepping on the throats of our fellows? Are we harming people on the way? Are we selfishly taking, regardless of consequence? These are the questions we have to ask ourselves. This is the reality of things. Are we serving only ourselves in these situations? Are we serving only our own selfish desires? And do we think that'll last? Do we think that will really work in the end of this? I mean, my own personal experience says no. I've tried. I have tried every which way to make living any other type of way except for on these principles. And my life didn't change until I started living on these types of principles. On these principles, exactly, actually. It's amazing. The road to peace is narrow, though there may be many roads. What a great reading. Love this one today. All right, now it ends with this: work in harmony with the fundamental laws of the universe. Don't fight the world. Man, that was one of the hardest things I had to learn. Quit fighting the world. Just stop it. Like, you just don't necessarily even know that you are. I think is one of the biggest things. I didn't realize that I was constantly up in arms with the world. I didn't know that I was having a bloodbath out with the world. And when I came to that understanding, there was a lot of freedom in there because I could then choose to not. So, all right. Well, thank you all for joining me again tonight. That's where we're going to end. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the next couple of days of October brings us. So, until next time, thanks.